For today's video, this marks the 20th DC Multiverse figure review on my channel, and I want to dedicate this particular video to this long overdue 2-pack that I promised back in August that I would do a video on, but I never got to it, and we're now in October. So here it is. We're finally looking at the Batman vs. Bane 2-pack, and let's just dive into it. So this 2-pack does include accessories. It of course includes your usual data profile card. It shows Batman versus Bane on it. The back also shows the description, which I won't read because there's a funny typo. And that is it with the card. There's nothing unique about that card. It doesn't really say anything. It just says he breaks his back in summary, okay? And this 2-pack is one of those where I think a lot of people are buying this mainly because they want the Bane. So if you're like me and many other people who missed out on that original Megafig Bane, this was a 2-pack that you just had to get, right? Like, this is a 2-pack that you just need because you didn't get that Bane before, and now that you waited for this opportunity, it's finally time. And in a way, do I regret not getting that Bane back then? No, I do not, because here's the thing. No matter how good that Bane was sculpt-wise, one thing that was really stupid on Mcfarlane's part was the fact that it did not include fist hands. And I don't understand the logic to that. You make a character who's known to punch people, right? Not have punching hands, you know? It's just... And it's $40 is because of the mega figure. How hard was it to just include 2 interchangeable hands? And I think this has always been the problem with the Megafig line, is the fact that it's always lacked accessories. Some releases have like maybe 1 accessory. Some releases have 0. It's just literally the figure. You're paying $40 for the figure itself, which is already expensive as it is. So the fact that it lacks accessories is just ridiculous. Now, what did they do to fix the damage with this version? Well, you know, it said that there were no fist hands with the other one, right? Well, this one came with fist hands. Yeah. They knew that they couldn't fumble this one, because if they did, people would also get mad, which is normal because, you know, if they slacked and was like, oh yeah, this one doesn't have fist hands too, I'll be like, yeah, I'm not paying $70 for this. No way. Right? So, this was their way of giving us a second chance to getting a comic book Bane with the fist hands. And for me, I never had any other Bane outside of that Last Night on Earth Bane. So I'm glad I waited. That's all I'm going to say. And let's just look into the figure. So aesthetic-wise, because this is a retooling of that Megafig Bane, his torso is the same. It's just been retooled a little bit because he doesn't have the thing on his back. And the muscle definition on this figure is just so good. I love the details that they always do with the sculpt. You can see the veins, you can see his muscles, you can see more veins connected to his neck because whenever he uses his venom, which is what makes him super strong, all these veins are just like bursting out of his muscles, right? Like they're just like, well, not bursting out, but like they become visible. So I love the detail that they did with the muscle definition on the figure. And then you see his spine on the back, very reminiscent of like Abomination. And I just love all these sorts of details that are also on the clothing, because it's very textured, and it's always nice when it's not just a flat piece of plastic and there's actual texturing to it. And on the back you can also see that he has pant pockets that are sculpted and detailed, right? They have texture to them, and I like that. And also the paint that they chose to use for these pants, solid. Like, this is how you do it. Like, let me take in a Marvel Legend figure, for example. That he has pants sculpted on the back. You can see it, right? That's because I'm like showing it in the camera, like zoomed in. But like from a distance, you probably wouldn't even know that he had it, because the overuse of glossy paint on these pants are ridiculous. Like, even the detail on the front, like you can see a little bit of it, but it's not present. And I think the use of glossy, you know, paint is not a bad thing. It just depends on what it is. Like, if you're gonna have his pants be painted, you got to do it this way, right? Where those details that you want visible, they're visible, right? Even the front part where the zipper is, it's visible. So that's my opinion on why I like the way that they painted this Bane compared to this Marvel Legend Hulk, where, you know, it's not quite visible because of the paint. As for these bluish hues, or whatever you want to call these, they are supposed to represent cell shading. And cell shading is something that is practically used in animations and sometimes even in like comic book art, the way that some people draw. And on the figure, it doesn't really work. Like in this case, it doesn't work. It's just like blue streaks on his clothes, right? That's not really cell shading. It just looks like they just painted blue all over his head and everything. And this is the one instance where I'm like, cell shading here is not good, right? It's just, I mean, it's nice that they included it, but I don't know. I don't think it works properly the way that they wanted it to. As for the Bane, right? So, but for Batman, as we take a look at the Batman, he does have it where it does kind of work. In my opinion, I think the way that they did it with the gray, that works, right? The way they did it on the belt doesn't really work because it just looks like stains. And then the way they did it with the mask, not so much either. But on the body, it looks really good. And also, everything on here is printed on. Even like the ripped up areas are printed on. His face is like the only thing that's like nicely sculpted because that's actually a new head sculpt. And you can see the definitions to his teeth, like the details and the bloody mouth. It's pretty cool. I do like this head sculpt a lot. Would I wish if he had another head sculpt? Of course. I wish he had another one, but sadly he does not include another head sculpt. He is reusing the Knightfall body buck, so there's nothing new going on with the body. It's the same, you know, mold. As for his cape, it is different. It is a wired cape. It is actually more thicker in the wire, so it's, you know, you have to kind of play around with the wire in order to get it to move. Mine has a little quality control issue right there because that popped out, but the cape still works, so I'm still happy with it anyways. And yeah, there's not much else to the Batman outside of like just the fact that he's battle damage, if you want to call him that. As for what he comes with in terms of accessories, he does come with the same Knightfall Batarang that they all include in every iteration of the Knightfall Batman that they've released. He does have those same gripping hands, right? And then he also includes these two grabbing hands. So if you want to use them for a photo scene where he's grabbing onto Bane or something, you can use them for that. And that's basically it for accessories and the aesthetics. As for the articulation, we'll start with Batman. His arms do go all the way out, so that's good. He does have very loose butterfly joints, so these arms are very loose. It does go all the way back. It also does double joint, so if you needed to double joint, you can. He does have sculpted ball joints with, you know, the articulation. This swivels, the upper arm swivels. As for his head articulation, he does look up, but he can't look down too much. Swivel side to side works. Turn his head all the way, that also works. So head articulation is okay, except for looking down, unfortunately. As for his torso, it does rotate, so that's really good. I do like that. It can go side to side. His waist also rotates as well. It can lean a little bit forward. Oh, that's actually really good. Wow. Okay. It can't really lean too back. And then as for his torso, so the upper part, it can lean back a lot because that's the whole thing they promoted with this figure, is the fact that he can lean further than most of their figures can. And that's to allow for him to, you know, be in the position where his back is broken. So that's the whole selling point with that gimmick. As for his legs, they do kick out okay, Not the best. Again, even with the soft PVC, it's still hindering his legs from being able to kick out all the way, as I've shown with some figures where they can kick, amazingly. As for his double joint, his legs can double joint. Really good. I think the legs are okay with the double joint compared to the arms where it's ugly. As for his feet, they do go, up and down. They do pivot side to side. There is toe articulation. And that is basically the articulation with the Batman, because very simple articulation. It is, as I said, reusing the Knightfall body. As for Bane, I do want to show something with the articulation as well. So, of course, so his arms do spread up, right? They do have the articulation there. They do go all the way back. This arm, on the other hand, as you can see, this one, you don't want to do the whole like swinging his arm up and back, up forward too crazy and up backwards too crazy, because he has this tube here that's connected to his head, and this could break if you use too much force, right? His head is also very limited in articulation because, again, there's this tube. So you want to be careful with that. You don't want to be too rough. So he can look up a little bit. He can't really look down too much. He can turn his head side to side, but again, you don't want to turn it completely because this tube is connected to the arm. So for this arm, when you move it, you can see how the tube is moving with it. So you want to be careful with this Bane. As for his arm articulation, it is single jointed, but there is a swivel here, so that's good. His hands are what you would call like a peg hinge combination. So instead of like having a sculpted ball joint, it's all one piece. So it does swivel, and it also does have, articulation. And if you want to see the fist hands on him do the same thing, let me just pop this off, because it can be a pain to pop off sometimes. But all you do is you pop the fist hands on. And again, same thing. There's articulation with the fists. So pretty good there. As for his torso, it is one piece. There is no cut in the torso region. So it does, rotate. You can go all the way. And you can also lean a little bit forward as well. So pretty good range of motion with the torso, I would have to say, for a big guy, because this type of figure sometimes, they don't get the best articulation as it is, but his torso does have a little bit of that, which is really nice. As for his legs, they do kick out pretty okay for a big guy. He does have double jointed. They are more tighter on mine, so you kind of want to be careful. If they're stiff, you do want to heat them up. He does have articulation here. They do rock, side to side as well, and toe articulation. And one thing I did not show was, can they do the splits? Well, let's start with the Bane. They can definitely do the splits. They can definitely do the splits. That's really good. So they can do the splits for sure. And for Batman, let me fix up the Bane first. Give me a second as I put them on the table. As for Batman, he can do the splits. So pretty good articulation for these two figures at where they are. And I would have to say that I like the way that they're articulated. It's good enough. It's not like completely bad, compared to some figures where the articulation could be really bad. I think these two came out okay. And with that, that is going to conclude this review for this 2-pack. And is it worth picking up? Yes, I would say it's worth picking up. If you don't have a Bane and you don't have a Batman, and you just started this sort of like a DC Multiverse collection shelf, like this is your first dive into this figure line, I would say pick this up. Now, would I say pick it up for a full price? That depends on you, if you really want this. It is in stock. It hasn't like had any stock problems anymore, because they did say that they would have more stock for this 2-pack. And the last time I checked on Amazon, it's still up there. So if you're lucky that this 2-pack can go on sale, I say pick it up then, if you're willing to wait. If you are in fear that it will sell out in the course of a period, because it is likely to potentially, then grab it. But with that, this is a look at the Batman vs. Bane 2-pack. And as usual, I will see you in the next video, and take care.